I just want to say a few words about inclusive services and public functions and the importance of remembering obligations under the Equality Act 2010. The Equality Act has two proactive duties. First of all, there's the public sector equality duty. This does only apply to public bodies, but it's a duty to have due regard to disability equality. There's also the anticipatory reasonable adjustment duty, and this applies to bodies whether they're public or private. This is a duty to anticipate disadvantage that could be caused to disabled people from the way that the service is operated, and it's a duty to take steps in advance of anybody complaining to try and remove or minimise that disadvantage. This duty has provided the basis of two mass claims. One is against the government for failing to provide sign language in its daily briefings on coronavirus. The second is against supermarkets, and it's because of their failure to make their services inclusive of disabled people during the lockdown period. These duties are still relevant, they still apply and still must be taken into account in the next phase of this crisis as lockdown eases. But while we're still trying to develop policies and practices that respect physical distancing. So I have three recommendations. First, that government complies with the Equality Act's proactive duties to consider the disability impact of its COVID-related policies and practices. This involves anticipating and taking steps to avoid or mitigate any potential disadvantage which might otherwise be caused to disabled people. Second, government should work with disabled people's organisations and with the Equality and Human Rights Commission to produce authoritative guidance for providers of services and public functions on ensuring that infection reduction policies and practices are developed and implemented in ways that do not disadvantage or exclude disabled people. Third, the government should implement recommendations already made by parliamentary bodies, including the 2016 House of Lords Select Committee report on the Equality Act 2010 and disability, and by the Women and Equalities Committee on enhancing the enforceability of the Equality Act.